On a quiet night in June 2009, I was working an empty field on the edge of a remote town when a single flash of light blinked from the abandoned house on my land. Whatever made that light wasn't supposed to be there, and following it led me to something in the cornfield I still can't explain. This happened when I was younger, but not a kid. I was already working full-time on the farm. I'd been around fields and animals since I could walk, so by that point I thought I knew pretty much everything there was to know about being outside at night. Out here in our kind of distant town, nights have their own life. When the houses go quiet, other things move around. Most of it is normal stuff. Animals, wind, the odd person cutting across land they don't own. Some of it is stranger. You hear noises you can't place. You see shapes you don't really want to follow. After a while, you learn to live with it. The way people say, if we don't bother them, they don't bother us, becomes almost like a rule. That night started out completely normal. It was a clear night with a full moon. The air was cool and still. I was out on my tractor working a field that sat on the edge of my land, not too far from a patch of trees and, beyond that, an old abandoned house. Nobody had lived there for years. The roof sagged, parts of the walls were cracked, and if you asked anyone in town about it, they'd just say, that place should have fallen down a long time ago. I'd seen it plenty of times in the daytime. It was just an old house to me, nothing special. I remember feeling pretty relaxed that night. The tractor was humming, the rows were straight, and the light from the moon was bright enough that I didn't even need the headlights most of the time. The animals were quiet back toward the barn. It was one of those nights where work almost feels peaceful. Then I saw something out of the corner of my eye. It was a flash of light in the distance over near that abandoned house. Not a steady light, just a quick flick, on and off in a split second like someone clicked a flashlight button and then released it. I stopped the tractor for a moment and leaned forward, squinting in that direction. Nothing else happened. Everything went back to being dim and normal again. At first, I told myself it could have been anything, a reflection off something, or my eyes playing tricks on me with the moonlight. But the more I thought about the angle and the way it looked, the more it felt like a real light. A focused one, the kind a person holds. The problem was, as far as I knew, nobody lived in that direction. There were no occupied houses past that point, just that ruined building, and then more land and trees. I sat there on the tractor for a minute, thinking. One side of me said, ignore it, finish your work, go home. The other side of me said, what if it's someone hurt, or some kid messing around where they shouldn't be? Curiosity won. I turned off the tractor. The sudden quiet was a little jarring after having the engine running. I grabbed my flashlight, climbed down, and started walking toward the trees. At first, it felt like any other walk through my fields at night. Dirt under my boots, a bit of wind through the grass, the usual sounds from insects. I wasn't scared. I'd done that kind of walk hundreds of times. But the closer I got to the tree line, the more something inside me started to feel off. It wasn't anything I could see or hear. The night itself didn't change much. It was more inside my body. My chest felt tighter. My heartbeat picked up. My hands felt a bit shaky, even though the air wasn't cold enough for that. People always talk about being afraid of the dark, but this didn't feel like that. I wasn't scared of the night. I was suddenly on edge without knowing why, and I didn't like that feeling because it didn't match what my eyes were telling me. I kept going, though. I told myself I was overreacting. I passed through the trees and came out near the abandoned house. Up close, it looked just as dead as ever. Parts of the siding were missing. The front steps were warped, and the front door was hanging crooked. No sign of anyone standing outside. No second flash of light. Nothing. I walked around the outside first, shining my flashlight in through the broken windows. All I saw were old boards, fallen plaster, and leftover junk from whoever lived there last. Then I stepped inside. The floor creaked in a few spots but held my weight. There was dust everywhere, cobwebs in the corners. Some old metal things piled in one room, tools or scraps, hard to tell. There was no smell of recent smoke, No food, no bedding, nothing that said someone was using the place. Room by room, it all looked the same. Empty and forgotten. By the time I finished checking it, I started feeling a bit foolish. I thought, maybe it was just some reflection off the tractor after all. Or maybe it was a shooting star in just the right line of sight. Anything sounded more likely than a person standing there, using a flashlight, then vanishing completely. I walked back out, took another slow look around, and didn't see anything unusual. It was quiet, calm. Even my nerves had settled a little. I remember actually feeling some relief as I turned back toward my own land. The fear had been in my head, I decided. Happens sometimes. You get tired, you start inventing reasons to feel strange. On the way back, I cut through the cornfield to shorten the walk. The plants were tall by that time of year, high enough to make you feel like you were in narrow hallways made of leaves. About halfway through, my flashlight went out. It didn't fade, it just snapped off. 1 second there was a beam, the next second there was nothing. I stopped walking so I wouldn't trip on anything. I gave the flashlight a couple of taps with my palm, thinking maybe it was just a loose connection. Nothing happened at first. The darkness in a cornfield is a particular kind of dark, the kind where sound is suddenly more important than sight, because all you can see is outlines. Those few seconds felt longer than they probably were. Then, just as suddenly as it went out, the flashlight came back on, and there was someone standing right in front of me. She was a little girl, maybe 3 to 5 years old, small, thin, wearing clothes that looked dirty but not torn. Her face wasn't twisted or crying, just wide-eyed, like a kid who had been caught doing something they weren't supposed to do. Her hair was messy, and there was a bit of dirt on her cheeks. She didn't say anything. She just looked at me. I can't say I was terrified in that exact moment. Mostly, I was confused. Out of everything I expected to see in that field at night, a young child standing alone like that wasn't on the list. I felt this strong urge to ask where her parents were, how she got there, if she was okay, the kind of questions any adult would want to ask. I took a step toward her and opened my mouth to speak. Before I said a word, I became aware of something on my right side. It wasn't a sound. It was more like that feeling you get when you know someone is standing next to you even before you turn your head. My eyes stayed on the girl, but the metal edge of my flashlight caught a reflection from the side. In that reflection, I saw another figure. A grown woman, from what I could tell. About 30, maybe a little older. I couldn't see her clearly. Just the outline of her in the corn, half hidden by the stalks. Her body was angled toward us, like she had been walking in my direction and had just stopped. I didn't see her face. I didn't really want to. There was something about that moment that sent a deeper kind of warning through me than anything earlier that night. Whatever part of your brain handles instinctive danger kicked in hard. It didn't feel like two lost people out at night. It didn't feel like a mother and daughter who needed help. It felt like I had walked into something that wasn't meant for me. I didn't turn to face the woman. I kept my eyes mostly on the girl, but my awareness was split. I could feel the presence in the corn, and I could hear very slight movement, like someone shifting their weight from one foot to the other. My mouth went dry. I remember thinking, if I say the wrong thing or move the wrong way, this could go bad. But I had no idea what bad even meant in that situation. I took a slow step back, then another. The girl just stood there watching me. No anger, no fear, just those big eyes following every inch I moved. After a couple more steps, I turned my body slightly so I could walk more easily, and then I started moving faster. Not a full run at first, but close to it. As soon as I did, I heard movement in the corn. Not directly behind me, not running after me, but moving. Stalks brushing against something, leaves rustling in more than one place at once, like multiple bodies shifting direction. I didn't look back. By the time I broke out of the corn and saw my tractor again, I was running properly. I climbed up, got the engine going as quick as I could, and drove straight back toward the more open part of my land. then toward town. My legs were shaky by the time I got home. I remember sitting down in the kitchen and feeling like my whole body was buzzing from leftover adrenaline. I stayed up for a long time. I don't even remember what thoughts went through my head in order. It was just images, the flash of light, the empty house, the little girl's face, the woman's shape in the corner of my vision. The next day, everything looked normal again. The field was the same. The abandoned house was the same. There were no footprints I could clearly point to, and no one in town mentioned being out that way. I didn't tell anyone, not because I was trying to hide it, but because I didn't know how to say it without sounding like I was making something up. If I had been the kind of person who scared easily, maybe they would have chalked it up to nerves. But I wasn't that kind of person, and that made it harder for me to just shrug and walk away from it. I never did see that girl again, and whatever stood in the corn beside her. I don't think it was meant to be seen in the first place. The fields look normal now. The abandoned house looks the same. But I haven't worked the far edge after dark since that night, and I don't plan to. Not after the way the corn moved. Not after the way those two stood there like they were waiting for something I didn't understand. I keep telling myself there has to be a normal explanation, some kid trespassing, some adult out there with them, something human. But the part that still bothers me is how quiet everything went afterward. No voices, no footsteps, no sign that anyone had ever been there at all. And every once in a while when I'm driving past that tree line, I still think about that first flash of light, the one that pulled me toward the abandoned house in the first place. Because if that wasn't a reflection, if someone was really signaling, then I walked into something I was never supposed to interrupt. And in a town like ours, when you see a light where there shouldn't be one, especially near a place everyone avoids, you learn to leave it alone. But the person who saw the next one didn't. Their story is already waiting for you on the screen.